Okay, so hello and welcome back to another Unity tutorial. In this one I'll be showing you a generic C# concept called, well, generic types, generic methods. If you've ever seen the key word or key letter T, capital T, used in coding, I'll be showing you some examples that you will have seen. Even if you haven't noticed it, you'll have seen them or used them at least. And then I'll be showing you how to write some of our own, like the syntaxing for it, which is the C# syntax for it. And I think the syntax is the same for TypeScript, and obviously other languages have their own syntaxes for this. So if you're following along for Unity or C#, then this should be good for you. I'm going to be showing you a general use of this, like how to reverse an array of any type. So writing one function that'll work no matter what array you're passed in. And then I'll also show you a way of doing it in a game. So a theoretical scenario, maybe you have an inventory system and you want to, from somewhere else, get a list of all weapons, and this is without having an enum. You don't have to make an enum to go along with your classes, which is the way I used to do it. If I had a weapon class and an armor class and a spell class, I would also have an enum for what type the items are, whether they're weapon, spell, and it was stupid. I mean, at the time it was the only way I knew how to do it, and then I discovered this and I was like, oh, it makes so much more sense. So I'll be giving you that example as well, and you can go away and write your own generic functions for whatever you need in your game. So I hope you like this video, and let's get into it. So first things first, I want to thank Michael, Norwegian Viking, Paul Robinson, and Philborn for their donations on Patreon this month. If anyone else is able to help out, links in the description below. Or if you prefer, I now have the YouTube channel membership button thing. So if you do want to, then obviously you could drop me a donation. It would help out a lot. But apart from that, let's get into it. So I have 4 scripts, and there is no code in them. So don't worry if you've not got anything ready for this. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to be starting off in the generic test script, which I've just called it that because it's going to be showing you how to use generics as a test. Yeah, whatever. So we're going to need a list, because the example I'm going to show you is reversing an array or a list. Either way, I can show you both syntaxes for doing that. And we are going to write a function that does it no matter what type it is. So if it's a list of strings, list of integers, list of booleans, list of class types, it doesn't matter, you can pass in anything. So I think the first thing I'll show you, we'll make a start function. Okay, so let's say you've used Unity before and you've used the very common function getComponent, getComponent rigid body. Now just notice, before I click on rigid body, you'll see on the getComponent, it tells you it takes in T, and you might not have noticed this before, maybe you have, but T means type, or like generic type, and that means you can pass in anything that is a component. Component being one of the base classes that Unity uses below monobehaviors, or well, above monobehaviors in terms of a tree of class inheritance. So you start off with just class, and then you go down to maybe object, component, monobehavior. I haven't studied the Unity structure of classes thoroughly, but if you did want to check, you could go monobehavior, press F12, goes to behavior, F12, goes to component, F12, goes to object, F12, and there you go. That's the base one. So component is the one that it needs. As long as it derives from component, it's fine. And it lets us type in, rigid body or transform or literally any class that derives. So that's very useful, because that means they only have to write one function for handling getting component, and it works regardless of what component they want. Now, you're used to probably writing functions that have a return type of void or list of this or string or boolean. Now that's good for when you need it, because then you know what type it is, but sometimes you need to get back something that can be of varying types. You don't know what it's going to be, so this is what the use is. Now let's get rid of this getComponent. So we're going to say on start, let's have a list. So we'll have a list of type let me just import the library. There you go. So we're going to have a list of type string called words. Okay, so it's just a string list of words. So we're going to say, let's write a function. So we'll call it private. Now this is where the first thing comes in. So rather than having a array of string, rather than having this function return an array of strings, which would work for us, but then let's say we wanted to write it for integers, we'd have to change it. So we're going to write a generic function for reversing a list. So what we're going to do is, let me zoom in a bit. Okay, we're going to say this function returns T. Now by default, it'll give you errors, it doesn't know what T is. For us to say that it returns t, we also have to let the function know that it is of type t. So the way we do this is we'll say we want to return list of type t, and as you see here it says t does not exist, so we have to say let's say reverse list, and then we go open t like this. Okay, now for us to reverse a list we have to obviously have a list to reverse, so let's just say list t, make sure it's capital T, list t array to reverse, or technically list to reverse. Okay, so we're saying here we're going to return a list of type t, generic, just generic anything, right? We're going to return a list of something, and we need to take in a list of the same thing. So obviously this t and this t just means something, but they're going to be the same thing. So it doesn't matter what they are as long as they're the same, really. I mean, even then, you could probably take in a list of one thing and return a list of something else. It doesn't matter. You're being generic here, which is good in some cases, like the cases I'm going to show you, but you shouldn't do this for like every function. It would be stupid. You only use this where you need to. So we need to have a list that we add to return. So if we're going to return the list but reversed, we'll need a list of type t, because we can't specify what type. We have to just say it's going to be anything. A list of something called reversed list. Okay, reversed list is equal to a new list of type t, and then we're going to say for I is equal to list to reverse dot count, I is greater than or equal to 0, I minus minus. So what this loop does is we start off at whatever value this is, but minus 1, because obviously arrays start from 0. So if an array has 8 things in it, its max index is 7, so you got to take 1 off. So minus 1. So while we're at we're going to start off at the list count minus 1, and while we're bigger than or greater than or equal to 0, we'll keep subtracting. So we're actually going to go down the list, and the reason we're doing this is so that we can say reversed list dot add list to reverse I. Sorry, square brackets. What am I doing? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add from here. We're going to take this values from this list and put them into our new one, going down so that we get the last values first, and therefore we reverse the list. So now we've got a reverse list of any type, and we're going to return that list, reversed list. Okay, now if we have a call list function, so if we go here and say reverse list, you'll notice how it says it returns list t. Now one thing you'll notice in Unity, just in coding in general, unless using Python or like JavaScript, I think, if you say like int x equals 0, it'll be fine. But then you'll say hello, it's wrong. It's the wrong type. You can't set something that's the wrong type. Now your list here, this list of string words, is not of type t. It's just a list of strings. But because it's generic t, what you're allowed to do is you're actually allowed to say words is equal to reverse list words. And it works because we're passing in the type, and it's actually letting us set it back to this list. If we put well, let's go show it in action, and then I'll show you the uses of it, which is when we have different types of lists. So if we go to this game object I've got in my scene, I've just put the script on it. We've got some words. So let's say we've got a list of 5 words, and we're going to go A, B, C, D, E. Okay, I mean, I know they're just letters, but still. A, B, C, D, E. I press play, and now it's E, D, C, B, A. A, B, C, D, E. It's reversed the list of characters. But then let's say I was like, I want a private list of integers called numbers. Okay, you got a list of numbers. And we're just going to say this time we want number. Well, no, we'll keep it. So we'll say numbers is equal to reverse list numbers. Okay, so we've just called the exact same function with a completely different data type, and now when I go in and put whoa, no, not 51. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I press play, it'll now call reverse list on both of them, and now it's reversed EDCBA 54321. So no matter what type of list we pass it in, because it's a generic type, it'll work and it'll reverse it either way. So that's a very good use of it. Now, as I said, that's a general coding use. This might be useful in your game, it might not. So one use I found in my game of using like generic types, let's say we have a list of item. Let's get rid of these now. I'm actually going to clear out this function. If you want to copy that function, then just pause the video back where it was. So I'll just call it items is equal to a new list of type item. So we'll go to my item class, currently has nothing. You know, you could just say, well, items have a, I don't know, string item name, and I don't know, private int item price. And what we'll do is we'll say items are just a system.serializable. So what it just means is that this isn't a mono behavior. Items don't like live on anything as such. Well, I need to have Unity engine in here. Okay. Now weapons are of type item. Get rid of this code. Okay, weapons are of type item. And armor is of type item. Let's just get rid of all this. Armor is of type item. Okay. Now, I don't really need to put anything in armor and weapons, but you get the point. Weapons will have like, I don't know. Weapons will have an integer for damage. Okay. And we'll say armor has a defense value, right? We'll say it's an integer. Defense. So we've got defense, this says damage, and this is just for all items. So what if you want to store a list of items? Now, the keep in mind, because it's a list of items, that means it's allowed to have weapons and armor in there too. But what if you want to get, for example, a list of weapons from here? You just want to get all your weapons in this list. What's the best way to do it? Well, the best way to go about doing that is we'll write a function. So private list of type item. So we're going to get a list of items back. We know that much. But we don't know what types of items. We might get weapons, armor, item. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, technically, I should put public abstract class here if I'm being picky. But anyway, we have a list of item. And then what we want to do is want to write like get items by item type or something. I don't know. Now, after writing that, remember, we have to use the T there to specify that it's a type, a generic function. Takes in no parameters, and all we're going to say is we're going to say where T colon item. What that means is, it means we're allowed to take in any type so long as that type derives from item. So it's not working on any type like in the game, it's going to work on any type that derives from item, which is just like how getComponent works. GetComponent is any type that derives from component. So we're going to do it for item. And now what we can do is we can say we want a list of item called items. Well, actually, no, we'll say like items to return. And then we'll say equals a new list of items. So we've got that new list there. Currently there's nothing in it. And now we're going to loop through all the items. So while I is less than items.count, we want to say if, and then here's what we do. We say if items I, so the current item we're checking, if it's if items I is T, okay? That might seem a bit weird. So what the is keyword means is like the type of it. So if the class of item I, if items I, if the class is the same as T, now when we say T here, we're referring to this T. So when I call this function, I'll say get items by type, and I'll pass in weapon, for example. And that's going to get all the weapons. So if items I is a weapon, then we want to say items to return.add items I, because it's a weapon. And then at the end we return items to return. So we only actually get the ones that are of the same type that we've passed in. So this will just return all weapons, but I can say I want to get armor, and it works all the armor. And then I could say rigid body, and it's going to tell me, hey, rigid body is not, a component. So I'll say weapon. Okay, I'll say weapon. And that's going to get a list. So I can say debug.logit, for example, because it's returning a list, so I can debug the list. And now what I'm going to do in Unity is I'm going to go and one problem is if I'm doing it in Unity, I can't actually do these, because if I have a list of items, I can't specifically say some weapons and some armor. So what I can do is in the start as well, I'll say items.add new armor, like this, and let's just quickly say that armor has armor takes in an integer defense. This dot defense is equal to defense. So that means that whenever we make some new armor, we have to pass in the defense number. So I'll just put 10. And then I could also say I want a new weapon, and I'll also quickly just say public weapon takes in a integer damage. This dot damage is equal to damage, and over here we'll pass in 50 for this weapon, and I'll quickly say we want a new weapon that does 30 damage, and a new armor that has 20 armor. Okay, and that's our list. Dot add range. I messed up how that function works. Let me just cut that out. Items.add. And we'll just go like this. Item. Why don't I just do it the fast way? Control D. And I'll just say this is armor of 20, and this is weapon of 30. So this list now has an armor of 10, a weapon of 50, an armor of 20. It's got some different classes in there, but they all derive from items, so it works. And now when I press play, I should get a debug log. So I should probably just use the debugger on this line. So if I attach to Unity, rather than actually debugging it, because the problem, if we say we want a I didn't mean to do that. We want a list of item called weapons to be equal to that. So this list of item called weapons is going to be all of the weapons we have, and then I can just read it in the debugger rather than trying to console log it and writing some awkward thing. Might as well just use the debugger, then we don't have to change any code. So if I press play, it's gonna tab us back into Visual Studio Code into Visual Studio when it's ready. And if we mouse over weapons on this next line, I went past it. I'm an idiot. Ugh. Oh wait, no I didn't. Try that again. What I did was I thought it hadn't worked, but actually it did. I clicked to go into the function which did the searching. Do I not have the debugger running? I do now. All right, this is the end of the video. So when I show you this working now to prove that it does work, which you should believe it does anyway. Let's see. So if I press this, we look at weapons. It's got two things in it, and they're both weapons with damage 50 and damage 30. So the weapon here and the weapon here, and I got type weapon. So I hope you like this video. I hope you find it useful. If you have any questions, obviously feel free to ask them below. If you haven't already, leave a like and subscribe. Help the channel out. It would mean a lot. Join our Discord server if you like. This link is in the description below. Follow me on social media. I've got links all over the place on my channel and stuff. So yeah, if you I think that's it, actually. I've mentioned everything. So apart from that, thanks for watching and goodbye.